So a big rest in peace to Catherine O'Hara. You know, Catherine O'Hara, in case you don't know, I feel like the whole world is mourning. That's what it seems like to me, right? But if you don't know who she is, she was the mom in Home Alone, you know, lady with the red hair. A really lovely lady. The mom in Home Alone, and she was also the mom in Beetlejuice. She was on a show called Schitt's Creek. She was on kind of like a Canadian version of SNL. I believe she's Canadian. You know, there's been a force, you know, within the industry for going on, you know, 4 to 5 decades. A really, really incredible woman, and a woman who seemed to exude warmth. And that's why I'm talking about her today. See, a lot of us scapegoats, I'll say a lot of my peer group, period, in general, scapegoats or not. You know, people with loving families or crappy families like us scapegoats had. What I've noticed is a lot of people are heartbroken over this lady's death. A lot of people are upset about it because for those of us of a certain age, you know, I'm an older millennial. I was about 4 when Home Alone came out. For those of us who were of that age, you know, she kind of was like this ubiquitous mom thing, you know? Like, everybody loved her movies. Everybody enjoyed her work. But she exuded something. She exuded a warmth. Even when she played a mom that was kind of crappy, like the mom in Beetlejuice, right? She still exuded a warmth and a kindness. And dare I say it, a sense of love. And I think that's why so many people in my peer group, my generation, my whatever, excuse me, we love this lady. Because, yeah, that ubiquitous mom thing. To get to the point, I think a lot of us scapegoats, you know, we had a means or a need to escape, you know. Just the bottomless feeling of being a kid and being around adults who do not have your interests at heart. You know, many of us needed to escape via movies, via films. A lot of us would watch these movies and these films because it showed us something we wanted. It showed us something that we needed, something that we didn't get. Now, I'm not sentimental, okay? I'm not really a sentimental person in the sense of like, you know, I don't really get caught up in media that's meant to affect my emotions because I find that to be a little bit suspect. I find it to be a little bit suspect to, you know, to see how they try to, you know, kind of, you know, sway the masses. But I have to admit, this made me sad. Okay, and you could call me a softie if you want to or whatever. But they were replaying the highlights, you know, of her career, all her work, you know, all the wonderful roles she played, and, you know, just showing how good her comedic chops were, and just, you know, just a very well-rounded entertainer she was. And in one of the clips, they showed, I think it was from Home Alone 1, when, you know, the family reunites, and she's like, Kevin, you know, and he runs toward her, and she runs toward him, and they run into each other's arms. And I was watching that, and I felt so many things simultaneously. I felt nostalgia with the thought of like, damn, I haven't seen Home Alone in like a million years, you know. I don't really have the occasion to watch it. Usually it comes on Christmas, and I'm usually working Christmas. So that was my first thought. My second thought, damn, it's sad that she's gone. I wonder what happened to her. 71, you know, ain't young, but, you know, when you have money, you know, 71 is pretty damn young to die. So I'm assuming, you know, something was going on. But then the third thing happened. I, who got stabbed and didn't shed a tear, okay, I who've been in a lot of different I've had physical issues, pain, chronic issues that I've never cried from. I'm looking at the scene of, mother and child running to each other and collapsing into each other's arms in relief and joy. And I shed a tear. I shed a tear because it took me back. It took me back to being a little kid and watching that scene and watching that moment and realizing my mom doesn't really hug me like that. My mom never really wanted to hug me like that. I love yous were said, but my mom never ever just simultaneously was like, I just need to hug my kid. I've seen other mothers do it. I've seen other fathers do it. They just got to see their kid. They got to be near their kid. It's a biological urge. My mom never had that. I was not hugged. I was not comforted when I was sad. In fact, I remember being a kid and crying and then spitting on my fingers to wipe the tears away because I didn't want my mom to see I had been crying, because crying wasn't a punishment enough. I got in trouble for crying. I wasn't allowed to cry. It was an inconvenience if I cried. Right? So no emotion, no comforting, no ties, So I'm watching this scene and I didn't even realize it was happening, and I just felt the tear. And I was like, I wonder if the reason so many people are not resonating with her death, nobody's happy about her death, but so many people are affected by her death is because other people did the same exact thing I did as a kid, watching this movie, idealizing this mother, who you could tell, yes, she screwed up and lost her son twice, which, I mean, how great is this family, really? But even though that happened, we still idealized it because it showed us something that we didn't have. A big family, a loving family, where if shit went down, all the little petty little nonsense was, pushed to the side, and we all came together to get that one lost lamb that we left twice, and it was just a beautiful thing to see that, and then to look at your own life in comparison, very sweet, entertainment. I think a lot of people of my age group, because a lot of us are scapegoats, because a lot of us are children of boomers. Okay, no offense to boomers. I know not all boomers are like that. But I think a lot of us did the same thing. I go on Instagram and all the people I grew up with and, like worked my first jobs with and, did all this other stuff with, man, they're falling apart, over this actress they've never met. And I was like, why is our response so strong to this? And then it dawned on me. She was like a mom. It sounds silly. It's an actress. She's playing a role. She doesn't know me. I don't know who she is behind closed doors. But there was something about this woman that exuded this maternal thing, this maternal feeling. This feeling of she really loves her kid. I think one of the highlights of Catherine O'Hara's acting and her presence on the screen was her eyes. And they say the eyes are the window to the soul. And this is a woman with very lovely eyes, very, very beautiful eyes. But what was beautiful about them wasn't the color or the shape or whatever. It was how they exuded emotion. I mean, they were lovely. It was a lovely color too. But it was the way they exuded emotion. The way she looked at her children in the film she was in. A lot of us would have liked to have been looked at like that. A lot of us would have liked to have had that moment where, you run into your mother's arms or your father's arms or grandparents, whatever the situation is, A lot of us would have wanted that. A lot of us would have wanted parents that loved us so much that they, almost passed out from relief just seeing that we were okay. A lot of us wanted that. Instead, what a lot of us got was, shut the fuck up, sit down, go over there. Why are you crying? Why are you crying? I'll give you something to cry about. Stay over there, stay at a grown folks' business, be over here. Oh, you want to talk? Here's some money. Get the fuck out my face. A lot of us would have killed to have our mothers look at us like that. That's why this hurts. And also, she was just a tremendous talent in her own right. So that's what I want to say about that. Rest in peace to the fabulous Mrs. Catherine O'Hara. Much love to her family. I believe she leaves behind a husband. She leaves behind a husband and 2 sons. So much love to them, and I hope that they can, get through this loss as unscathed as possible. I can't imagine what they must be going through. Okay, so hard pivot. Okay, my last video was a video where I said I was struggling and I was considering, sorry you can't see me, but you know what? I'm walking at night. I'm a black man. Here we go. I was considering ending my life, and I just got to put it out there just like that. Why beat around the bush? I'm in a much better place mentally now. I'm in a much better place mentally. I don't give medical advice. I'm not qualified to give medical advice. I'm a nurse, but we can't give medical advice. But I will say, one thing I've done that's helped improve my mental health was get back on my routine of taking fish oil. That's been very good for me. It feels like it turns the depression way down. It turns anxiety way down. And yeah, I mean, it's full of a lot of essential fats that are important for the brain. The majority of the brain is fat, so you need that. So I say all that to say, I'm picking myself up, back up off the floor, and, I'm marching forward. And I really want to thank you guys, for commenting on that video. A couple people went to check on me. A couple people offered to talk to me. I want to apologize for not responding to the comments under that video. Again, it was a rough time and I didn't really know what to say. I didn't know what to say, and I didn't want to just sit there and fake a response. But please understand that I am absolutely overwhelmed, humbled, flattered, touched, comforted by you guys as well wishings. I really, really appreciate it. I really appreciate, the concern. Some of you who comment are very consistent, and it almost feels like we've got our own little group, and I don't want to do the egotistical YouTube thing where it's like, you're my followers, you're my this, you're my that. I think what we are is a group of scapegoats who found each other. I'm very used to people not giving a shit about me, or at least that's my perception. So to have people that I have never met, never done business with, never shaken their hand, never any of that, to have you people actually give a shit about some guy who films shitty videos on the internet, and they don't look good, and sometimes traffic takes over the audio and blah blah blah. For you to take time out of your day to even give me a passing thought, I mean, is absolutely mind-blowing to me, and I want to thank you. I want to thank you so much, and I hope everyone's doing well. I'm doing a lot better. Thanks again.